Tanner from Cupcakes Comic Reviews. Just a little bit about myself. I'm a fan of all kinds of comics. Marvel, a little bit of DC here and there, not so much. Image, Dark Horse, but my main driver is really Image. Other than the X-Men, I'm a big Image fan. So today I'm going to talk to you guys about one of my favorite Image comic books. Possibly my favorite Image comic book, and that is the Maxx. It's a little bit of a history lesson based on the Maxx, but before we get started, if I could get you guys to smash that subscribe button, like, comment about the Maxx, maybe join our Facebook group if you're interested. Now that we got all that good stuff out of the way, we're going to talk about the Maxx here. Now, the Maxx's first appearance was in Darker Image number 1. Which Darker Image number 1 was set to be at the beginning of an anthology series. This one features Blood Wolf and the Maxx. This is the Maxx's first appearance. We got some art by Rob Liefeld, we got Jim Lee, we got Sam Keith. Now, Sam Keith is the driving force behind the Maxx. He's the artist. Bill Messner Loebs is the author. Messner Loebs is a great guy. I've had some conversations with him. Sam's a little more reclusive. He doesn't really talk to people. He's kind of shy in that regard. Very self-deprecating, honestly. And I'm a big fan of his work. But he's the kind of guy who doesn't understand why people like his artwork. He doesn't think he's talented. He thinks that, everyone who likes his artwork is just misunderstanding him, or maybe they feel pity for him or something, which is not the case. He's a talented, extremely talented artist. But as a matter of fact, the Maxx was not the first publication ever done by Keith and Loebs. That first one goes to Epicurus the Sage, which was Messner Loebs' idea. It is about a Greek philosopher named Epicurus. He has some interactions with Plato, Socrates. It's more of a humor comedy book, very philosophical in nature, with Epicurus kind of being the grounding force. Plato and Socrates are saying off the wall things, but Epicurus is kind of keeping things more centered. So it's kind of a funny take on what a center or a moderate philosopher would be like. It's very interesting, and it's interesting watching the evolution between that and what later became the Maxx. So like I said, we start in Darker Image 1 here. And then Darker Image 1 got canceled. Basically, it was due to the artist not being able to complete the work on a monthly basis. It was going to be an anthology with different characters. There's rumors Pitt was supposed to be in there. I'm sure it's something that Jackie Estacado eventually would have been in, The Darkness. Just a bunch of these darker characters from Image, and they're on anthology series. But sadly, it got canceled. That is something that I'm actually part of. It's a fan project called Darkest Image, which is kind of a combination of ideas from that anthology series. So it's an anthology comic with different 90s Image characters that we're interested in. For example, I'm writing a story. That story is being penciled by Ben Perkins of the Maxx meeting the Darkness, which it's a very 90s Image story. You're not going to get a whole lot of philosophy out of it. It's just a lot of action. Gritty, dark action. So I encourage you to give that a look once it's available. All the proceeds are going to the Hero Initiative. We're not making any money off of this. It's just something to do for fun. It's just a little 6-page story. My portion should be $5 like Image Grand Design was. Little kayfabe insider thing there. But the most recent thing we've got from the Maxx is Batman the Maxx. Now, this is a crossover between Batman, Joker, and the Maxx. This is a Jim Lee sketch cover, but I'll show you guys some interiors here as well. Very Sam Keith. Now, if we're going to be honest here, the Joker and the whole Arkham Asylum, that is the most Sam Keith DC is ever going to get, really. That's the most like his style they've ever done, in my opinion. He did some work on Sandman. He hates that work. He actually left the book because he didn't feel like he was doing a good enough job to reciprocate Neil Gaiman's storytelling. Which, again, I humbly disagree with. But it's his opinion. He's allowed to think whatever he wants. When they launched the Maxx was very popular when it first came out. One of the main reasons was the glow-in-the-dark cover, which I don't have. But if you ordered 100 copies of the Maxx, you received a glow-in-the-dark cover of it. Which is still kind of hard to find, surprisingly. Darkest Image came polybagged with trading cards, so, more of that 90s flair, trying to get you to buy multiple copies. And it sold really well, but the schedule, they just couldn't keep up with it. Now to jump into the Maxx. This is the way that I read the Maxx. I read these maximized hardcovers, which there's some debate over whether these are true to the source material because they're recolored. Now, Sam Keith did oversee the recoloring. As a matter of fact, he stated that he prefers the recoloring. In this book, he's got a little bit of a foreword explaining how usually you would get the pages to the colorist with 1 day's notice. You know, I need this colored today, it's got to go to press tomorrow. So he felt like a lot of it was rushed, and the colorists didn't really get their chance, honestly. But personally, I love these colors on the Maximize series. I'm a big fan. Maxx is a very abstract comic book. This isn't particularly a review because I'm really biased. I love this book a lot. But Maxx is basically a homeless, psychotic superhero. He's a bum, for lack of a better term. He has befriended a freelance social worker named Julie Winters. She kind of looks out for him, helps him when he gets in trouble with the police. They are fighting against Mr. Gone. Mr. Gone is a bald-head serial killer rapist. He's a very, very bad dude. They have some adventures in the Outback, as it's called. It's a little bit of Max's on mine without spoiling too much. But there, Julie is the Leopard Queen, and he must protect her from the Izzes. Mr. Gone and the Izzes. I'll show you a little bit of a close-up of Mr. Gone here. There's his signature blue robe. Really, really bad dude. The Maxx deals a lot with childhood trauma, rape. It is definitely a sensitive topic, so if you're someone who's sensitive to these things, be a little bit careful reading this. It is definitely an emotional story. I'm not going to spoil a whole lot, but there's 35 issues, so there's 7 of these hardcovers. The hardcovers have been long out of print, and it took me over a year to search out this set. The 7th one normally goes for about $200. The 5th one normally goes for about $300. So it is honestly cheaper for you to purchase the original single issues with the old coloring. That is the cheapest way for you to read this series, unless you're a fan of digital. They're all available on Comixology. This is the Maximize, the reprint version. The new colored version released by IDW. But there is something special about looking at these 90s. You know, on this newsprint, it definitely has a more toned down color. Which, you could argue, some people like the old coloring better. I didn't grow up with it, so I was kind of impartial going in, and I honestly prefer the new coloring. But either way, you're still enjoying the story. I would recommend this book to everyone over the age of 18. I don't recommend this to children. It deals with a lot of sensitive topics, which is probably why this didn't work out the best. This is the Maxx cartoon. This was part of MTV's Oddities. This has 13 episodes. I got this for like $6 online. It's not very expensive, but it's a great way to enjoy the story. It doesn't continue the whole thing. There's a lot of story about this, about how Rob Liefeld helped Sam Keith get into his own cartooning animation friends and his group there, so that this could be produced. But this is a very interesting cartoon. This is it kind of reminds me of the Spawn animated series in a way, just because it is dark and gritty. You know, it may be a cartoon, but it's really not made for kids. It even says not rated on the back. I would say it's probably rated R. I love this. I've sat down and watched this multiple times now, along with the reading. It is a very, very faithful adaptation, with them literally just taking, script from the story and translating it to the show. It does end on a little bit of an open plot, just because they didn't finish up the series. I don't know if the ratings weren't good enough to continue. Maybe it was some kind of discrepancy between the creators. I'm honestly not sure, but it was never finished. I think it gets to about volume 3 of these hardcovers, or around issue 15, somewhere around there. Some say the Maxx is not a complete series. I thought the ending was very satisfying. Now, I may be kind of alone in that regard, but I am a major fan of the ending of this series. It brought me to tears several times. I'm a big fan of Sam Keith in general. his work on Epicurus, the Hollows. All of those are pretty easy to find, with Epicurus being the hardest one. I'll show you some work from Epicurus here. Very, very tonally different book. This was by Piranha Press, which is an imprint of DC Comics. So it is kind of hard to find. It's been out of print for a little while. I think I paid $30 for this. You can buy the 2 single issues pretty cheap. But as you see, there's a lot of differences between the artwork that we're seeing in these, and even between the Maxx itself. Like in Darker Image, he looks very different than he ends up looking. He evolved throughout it. Sam Keith has went on record saying that he used a lot of unconventional methods of drawing the Maxx, even including at one point using like toenails. There's a rumor about that. Here's one of the original concepts for Maxx. This is pulled straight from Darker Image 1. As you can see, he changes a lot. Now, this is one thing that's very normal here, is these sound effects. Chung, 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 chung. That's kind of the pounding inside of Max's head. Kind of him going crazy. The way that they use the panels in this comic are very unique. It is definitely not your typical superhero comic. I'm not even sure I'd call it a superhero comic at this point. It has more to do with, psychotic breakdowns, homelessness, drug addiction, childhood trauma, the whole 9 yards. And in here we even see a little bit of a Cable ripoff from Rob Liefeld, since he wasn't allowed to use Cable. But that's a little bit about the Maxx. It's a great series. A great way to collect it is online. If you can do it on the Comixology, that's an awesome way. If you're just wanting to experience it but not wanting to spend a lot of money, this is a great way to do it. The Maxx cartoon, it's a fantastic way to get a good glimpse into what it is. Some of the episodes are even on YouTube, and etc. They are available. Now, at this point, I don't feel too bad about saying that, because Sam Keith's not making any money off these secondhand DVD sales. So, do with that what you will. I actually enjoyed the first episode on YouTube myself. Went on eBay and found this for $6. So I would recommend that. There's a lot of great Maxx artwork out there. Some Maxx action figures, statues, the whole 9 yards. So if you do become a fan of the Maxx like I have, there is kind of a niche hobby for it. There's even a group on Facebook about the Maxx, which I am a member of. Just people talking about the Maxx. He's got a very hardcore fan base. There's not many of us, but we are very passionate about the series. So, if you're a fan of the series, let me know. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you've never heard of the series, let me know if you're going to give it a try. I'd be glad to hear your opinions on Facebook, in the comment section, however you want to reach out to me. My name's Tanner O'Neill on Facebook. I'm a moderator of the Cupcakes Comics group. This is the kind of books that I want to show, kind of off the beaten path books. Soon up, I think my next video is going to be a review of Image Grand Design, which is a very, very bootleg comic, kind of underground. But shout out to Ben Perkins here. He's really taken my idea for Darkest Image, and he's ran with it. We've got some fantastic pages ready. I'll be sharing that with you guys shortly as soon as that it's available. But give it a like if you enjoyed the video. If you've made it this far, thank you so much. Definitely check out the Maxx. It's in my top 5 favorite comics. It's up there right behind Akira. So it is a big one for me. It's one that kind of took me by surprise. I found number 1 in a flea market dollar bin. I just saw it in there and I was like, well, whatever. And I grabbed it. I went home and I read it, and I immediately fell in love, even before I had read issue 2 or anything. So I started scouring everything for all of these different Maxx comics and memorabilia. It is definitely a comic that you can kind of dig your teeth into and analyze. There's just a lot to unpack there. But if you guys are interested in the Maxx, definitely let me know. I'm going to sign off here for now. I hope you guys have a great day, and check out some of our other content while you're here. We do have daily uploads, so we've got a lot of content on the channel that's available for you to watch right now. and there's more coming out constantly. We have quick comic reviews. This would be more like a character, it's like series synopsis. I'm not sure. Not very quick comic review style. But this is definitely one of my favorite comics of all time. Let me know some of your favorites. Have a good one, guys. See you real soon.